we have in the studio Professor of International Relations, Tunde Esan. He joins us to discuss all right, I'll just take a story, then we'll bring him in. What leaders have congratulated President Donald Trump on his inauguration on Monday, with many urging stronger alliances for continued cooperation between their countries and the U.S. Well, Trump's return to the White House portends a seismic shakeup in international relations, with the new president immediately ordering the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization as world leaders brace for new tariffs on goods and the impact of Trump's America First agenda. Some populist leaders celebrated Trump's return, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who called the U.S. president a dear friend, and Hungary's Viktor Orban, who declared, quote, "Now it's our turn to shine," end quote. But not all the messages were congratulatory. Some leaders expressed their anger at Trump's remarks he made during his Inauguration Day speech, or with the controversial raft of executive actions he signed almost immediately after entering the Oval Office. All right, and to look at the impact of a Trump administration on Africa and Nigeria, I have joining me in the studio Professor of International Relations, Professor Tunde Esan. Glad to have you join us.
It's good to see you.
So let me just start from there.
Yeah.
What should well, maybe I should start home. What should Nigeria and then Africa expect from a Trump administration? His second term back, if you remember, he called African nations and then some other nations of the world like El Salvador and a slew of others shithole.
Yeah. Esan, thank you very much. Let's look at it holistically so that we can place Nigeria within the context of African diplomatic, agenda of the new Trump administration. Essentially, Trump is a businessman. He has never pretended to be otherwise, and most of his engagements, to me, and to most analysts and watchers of international relations in Africa, will be transactional. What it means basically is that, just including Nigeria, we should put our house in order. In other words, what is there for us will be the first question Donald will ask, you understand, when dealing with most countries, and Africa is not excluded. And Nigeria is not excluded. And of course, it will equally be within the context of great power rivalries. Is China there? Can we compete with them? Or are they ahead of us in certain areas due to geostrategic interests that might propel him? What exactly is Nigeria expecting from Donald Trump? You understand? Nigeria is expecting that Donald Trump will support Nigeria in area of economic agenda. That's basically what we can think of as at now. But like I said, it will be transactional, and in other words, our agenda must be in line with the global view of not only the Western interests, but with evolving, the industrial, age agenda. In other words, if we have something for them, they will definitely look out for us.
All right. Well, I was discussing with the Prof of Economics yesterday, and he talked about the fact that Trump is missing something, especially with his America First agenda. The BRICS are trying to have a common currency and stop dollarization. China is going the same way.
Yeah.
So the art of the deal, man, is he missing out on the fact that the world order seems to be drifting away, as it were, somewhat from America?
No, it's not. It's not. America is still a great power, whichever way you look at it. Whatever BRICS is doing, an emerging power, no doubts about it, Brazil, South Africa, Russia, China, India. You can't ignore them, particularly India, which is fast coming up as one of the fastest growing economy in the world, the 5th largest economy in the world, and with 1.4 billion people. No nation can ignore them, you understand, as it were. So America or Trump cannot say, we cannot really dismiss them in emerging factor. But the truth is that for the past 10 years, America is at its apogee. What you call BRIC is actually a response to the increasing power of America, not only in Africa but equally in Asia. Let's look at it, and of course, it is. You can't dispute the fact that in Africa, the BRICS powers, the BRICS countries hold majority, particularly in trade. About 30% of the entire volume of international trade in Africa is with China. India is coming up, you understand? Of course, Russia is there, Brazil is there, although not too significant in Africa. And so it is only natural that we take a critical look at the influence of BRICS vis-a-vis America. But that has not really diminished the power of America, particularly in Africa and other parts of the world.
China is doing the same thing. China is also trying to find a way to move away from dollarization. Yes,
they are doing that, but it will take some time, no doubt about that. In addition to the economic factor, let's look at the geostrategic factors in Africa that might influence Trump, because we are looking at Trump, you understand? We're looking at Trump administration, you understand? And we cannot ignore the fact that there are some critical areas. For example, the only time Biden visited Africa was to visit Angola, you understand, towards the end of his administration, where he spoke about the Lobito corridor, 1,300 kilometers of railway line that will link DRC from Angola through the entire Angola to the border of Zambia for critical minerals. You understand? That is quite instructive. The great power politics might be benefiting Africa to a large extent. No doubt about that. You understand? And Trump will not ignore this. You understand?
But the talk has been that Nigeria doesn't seem, even before Trump's coming in, America's relating with Nigeria, particularly, whether it's Democratic, whether it's Republicans, it's not been that comforting, if you want to use the word. They've not been that, like you just talked about them visiting Angola. It's not been like that with America. Whether it's with Trump, whether it's with Democratic, or with the Republicans. So how should Nigeria be positioning itself?
Yeah, Nigeria can position itself in two ways. Our diplomatic, our foreign policy is very, very important. Let me say this, your influence in international relations depends to a large extent on your own power, economic power and otherwise. That's the truth. And it depends, again, on the leader in charge, you understand? So what I think will happen basically, and I think this administration has the capacity to do that, is to look at everything holistically and see whether they can push forward.
Mandy, we're the third, or is it the fourth now? Largest economy, used to be the first.
Yeah, it used to be the first, but now the fourth, that creates a problem, you understand? South Africa is ahead.
The first.
Followed as first, you understand? Followed by Egypt. And followed by, is it Tunisia? As it were. Followed by Egypt and Tunisia. That creates a problem because that gives
in fact, only two West African countries come into that ranking.
And it gives a perception of a very weak country. But I hope and I strongly believe that, we can do what we need to do to push ahead at the forefront of international diplomatic engagements when it comes to Africa.
And what's that?
Starting with whatever we can do, like I said, our foreign policy, is very important.
Because we are a mono economy, and Trump says he will increase oil drilling in the U.S., So I'm looking at what impact this will have on Nigeria that's crude oil dependent.
Let me say this. We should stop looking at this whole thing as a factor. The world is moving on.
Yeah, but we know the world is moving on. But that still remains.
It remains a factor, if it's a factor. But thank God, at least, for example, Dangote, refinery seems to have caused some kind of disruptions in the European market. You understand? That creates a lot of influence. Without Dangote refineries and some of these some of these little, you understand, geostrategic, geoeconomic, bodies. That, I mean, some of these bodies, some of these strong business bodies, Nigeria might be in a much more difficult situation. But let's put it together this way and say, look, with Dangote, you understand, refinery, you understand, they might begin, the world might still be taking us a little bit more serious than we used to do.
Just very briefly,
yeah.
One of his executive orders is in the birthright issue. I'm sure you're aware of it. What should Nigerians know about that?
About the birthright issue of American policy, birthright issue.
He's saying that...
it's still, Trump, has he signed it? He has not signed any,
Yeah, he's saying that...
It cannot even easily be upturned by an executive order.
Of course, there is the question of the law.
The law. So let's see where and see.
The Constitutional Congress should really make
it's a constitutional issue.
Yeah. Okay.
So we should still wait now and see.
And see. All right. Thank you so much. Today, Professor Tunde, Professor of International Affairs. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right.